YouTube Ozic going the Goat House is back with my updated post-combine 2-round NFL mock draft. Feel really good about the fits in this mock. Excited to break it down. We had winners and losers for each day of the combine. We have free agency content. More of those big free agency videos coming up. Predictions, rumors, and grades throughout free agency. Excited about it. Follow us on Twitter for that instant news and takes. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. I got Caleb Williams one to the Bears. Didn't work out the combine, but heard really good things. Teams, speaking highly about him, highly about his character, which was kind of up in the air actually going in that. So the interviews with teams during the combine was big for him, and he kind of passed that test based on what we're hearing. And then him measuring in at 6'1" actually is big for Caleb. That's big news for him because some talk about maybe him measuring at 6 foot or even lower, less than that, or smaller than that. So that's actually big for him. So I do believe the Bears are trying to trade Justin Fields. They're not just going to give him away, but I do believe that's their approach, and that they're going to take Caleb Williams here at 1, and maybe there's a small percentage chance where they trade the first pick and go to 2 or 3, and they take another quarterback there. But this is definitely what I'm expecting here. Pick 2, going to go Drake May with the Commanders. There's some buzz that Daniels is higher on some boards for teams than May is. Hearing a lot of good things about Jaden Daniels, so it could be Jaden Daniels here. I'm going to stick with May though. I feel like a great fit for that Kingsbury offense is Drake May. With his him being that prototypical size and him being sneaky athletic when he needs to be on crucial downs, stretching plays or moving the sticks with his legs. I think that's kind of that bonus with Drake May, but he has all the upside in the world. I'm a big fan of Drake May. He plays hero ball at some times, so he may, for a rookie, throw an unfortunate amount of interceptions, but he's also going to make those big plays, and I think he'll kind of cut the turnover-worthy plays over time, and who knows, maybe he cuts it down year 1 or right when he gets in there. But I actually do really like the fit of May in that Kingsbury offense, so I think that would be the pick there. Could they try to go up to 1 and take Caleb Williams? I think people deep down think they really want that. I don't know though. They may just like May at number 2. It's definitely a possibility. Patriots sounds like they'll take a quarterback, and there's a lot of reports that their ideal situation is to take one and sit him behind somebody. I think that only works if you have a smart, solid veteran. Teams try to do that all the time, and it backfires having that guy sit behind a random quarterback. It works when they're sitting behind Jordan Love is sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is sitting behind Brett Favre, and there's more instances where it happened, but I think teams got to be careful with that. I don't want them sitting Jaden Daniels behind somebody random, somebody that's not an ideal quarterback, and that not a legit quarterback. That I guess the big thing is can they learn from that guy? So I guess it depends on the quarterback, obviously, but I think it'll be quarterback 1, 2, 3. Jaden Daniels coming off the board at 3 here. I think there's going to be some mixed grades on him for sure. I mean, it's almost any prospect, but I do think there'll be more teams that are obviously higher on Caleb Williams and more teams that are higher on May, even though some people are talking Daniels could go, could be higher than May on some boards, but we'll see. Cardinals at 4, they'll have their choice of receiver. There's a lot of reports that they could trade back. We'll start getting into our trade mocks, maybe the next time around here, next mock, but man, how do you pass on one of these elite receivers? I guess the thought is you can trade back, get a lot more picks, and still get an elite receiver, but you get your choice of the best one, and I know they're all pretty close in grade, but I think that could be the case here where they just, let's not overthink it. Let's go get the sure thing prospect in Marvin Harrison Jr. At 4. I think their other thought could be, let's go get the do-it-all freak athlete, freaky speed guy for Malik Neighbors that really could fit that Kyler Murray offense. That is kind of the other option. But I'm going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. If they stay put, I think it'll be that guy. If they move back, that means they're fine with getting a Dunze or Neighbors. But you can't move back too far now. But if they stay put at 4, which I have in this scenario, I think that, again, just don't overthink it. They go at Marvin Harrison Jr. Pick 5, I'm actually going to have the Chargers going at Rome Odunze, and Neighbors could be the second receiver off the board. He could be the first receiver off the board because he's a freaky talent that literally can do it all. But Odunze is also a freaky talent that is more athletic than you expected. When the game's on the line, you go to him. Jim Harbaugh had the game plan for Washington in the national championship game. He had a game plan. The number one player on that team, the number one threat was Rome Odunze, so he saw that when preparing for Washington. So I think he'll think highly of Rome Odunze. Everybody thinks highly of him. And again, he's that outside threat that when the game is on the line, you go to that guy. And the talk is they want to bring back Keenan Allen still. He's not a free agent, but there's got to do something with that contract. On a rework deal, maybe add a year to that deal, maybe add 2, And the talk is maybe they move on from Mike Williams, who is a very solid outside receiver, but does have the durability concerns. So Odunze, if that was the route, Neighbors is more not replacing, but more of Keenan Allen. They're different, but Odunze is more of the Mike Williams role. So possibly Odunze would be the much better, maybe not much better, but the better fit there. Him working out at the combine, him at the 3-cone drill, insisting on getting it right, being the last one on the field. That's going to mean something, to some of these coaches and evaluators here. And he's already an elite talent. So Odunze 5, and then there goes Neighbors. So the quarterbacks go in a row, and the receivers go in a row. But my top 6 players are quarterbacks and receivers. But this is predict to pick, not really what I would do, but. Neighbors is an unreal talent. The acceleration, the after the catch ability, the toughness. Again, I'm having a hard time finding a weakness to his game. Maybe he doesn't have one, but maybe he doesn't separate. He does separate, but in terms of based off knowledge, like reading coverages, like a Marvin Harrison Jr., he could still do it. Maybe that's like if we had the nitpick, that's like the only thing. Maybe Odunze is going to be a little bit better in the contested catch department, but all these guys are great. Neighbors could be the first one taken, the second one taken, or the third one taken. It won't be any. Those 3 will be the first 3 taken in any order. But the Giants get their big-time receiver. Honestly, the Giants might prefer, one of the other guys because they're looking for. They've been struggling to find a true outside receiver. And they like using Wandale if he's healthy a lot in the slot. Neighbors does both, and they'll use him in both. He'll be great in that offense. But it'll be interesting to see what they prefer there. But there you go. The elite receivers come off the board. Number 7, the Titans go J.C. Latham. I believe this will be Latham or Alt, or if one of the receivers are available, they can go that route. The wild card could be a guy like Troy Fautanu from Washington, who I'm a big fan of, and it sounds like a lot of other people in the league is a big fan of now after seeing him and talking to him at the combine. But I think Latham is the best chance to be the first tackle taken based off of, I've seen quotes from people within the league. They're kind of, very high on Latham and Alt. Maybe Latham has the better chance of going ahead of him, maybe more pro ready. I mean, a freaky dude with a solid build, crazy strength. The wingspan's crazy. The Titans would just like to get the most pro-ready, best offensive lineman available. Again, it could be Alt, but right now I get the feeling that Latham will be the first one off the board here at pick 7, and they're going to be. It feels like offensive line, receiver, or Brock Bowers for the Tennessee Titans there. So we'll see. We'll see if somehow one of those elite receivers are still available. Then the Titans will have a interesting choice for sure. Pick 8, Dallas Turner, who is expected to be the first defensive player taken, first defensive player off the board, lit up the combine as well. He has the best production out of the top tier pass rushers. I guess debatable. Latu's up there as well. But production every year at Alabama, like he was on our radar the first time he stepped on the field a couple years ago. He's the most athletic guy out there as well, and he's by far the longest guy out there, which is huge. Talking about the top pass rushers, I should say. That's massive. I think he more so fits a 3-4 defense, and that means he'll fit Raheem Morris's defense in Atlanta. They are a quarterback and a pass rusher away from being a legit team. They're pretty much, I mean, they could use other things here and there, but that roster looks set pretty much everywhere. So getting a big-time pass rusher, as I think they'll attack quarterback in free agency, but we'll see. But this will be big here. So I would expect, I'm pretty confident Turner will be the first defensive player taken. It could be his teammate Terrion Arnold, perhaps, or it could be another pass rusher, depending on if the first defensive player is not taken yet. After the Falcons pick, it could be a different pass rusher. We'll talk about that in a second. But Turner, a high probability, I think, first pass rusher or first defensive player taken. So makes a lot of sense as a fit for the Falcons. Now the Bears go with another pass rusher at 9, Jared Verse from Florida State. Now, again, this is predict to pick. I think this would be a little early for me for Jared Verse, but hearing a lot of good things, a lot of good comparisons being put out there from the league. He measured, better than expected because there was some length concern. He's got production. My favorite part is he shows up in big moments. A high motor guy, very physical. He tested very well as well. But the thing I didn't like on tape was he's very tight. Not a lot of flexibility, not a lot of bend to him. Very tight. Kind of goes for that bull rush a little too much. And I kind of saw that actually in the on-field drills of the combine. So I thought that kind of proved my point. But a lot of people kind of raving about Jared Verse after that, and it sounds like he'll go higher than where I think he should go, even though I think he's good. But I think the Bears will view Verse as their best fit. And this could be a Chop Robinson. They could go offensive side of the ball. They could go Brian Thomas Jr. They could go Byron Murphy II, defensive tackle from Texas. But based on what we're hearing, it sounds like Verse could go around this range. And I do think he is a fit in Eberflus's defense. I wonder if all pass rushers are on the board here. Do they still take the fit over the best one in Dallas Turner, who may fit more of a 3-4? And the way the league's heading, I just prefer to get the best pass rusher out there, and he can adapt. But again, so this is kind of predict the pick. It sounds like Verse will go around this range. I do think it's a little early, but the Bears pair Verse. Maybe the Bears add that other starting pass rusher in free agency, but to look to pair at Montez Sweat. So in this case, Verse with Montez Sweat. Pick 10, going to go Joe Alt. So we had Latham, the first tackle off the board. Now here comes Alt, Troy Fatanu, and maybe Talis Fuaga, kind of giving the top two guys some competition here. So could they surprise and go this early? It's a possibility. I do really like Troy Fatanu. But Alt, with his upside, former defensive end and tight end, and Notre Dame kind of known for their developing offensive linemen, they put him at tackle, and he's a star right from the start with a lot of upside and freakish size. So Jets very happy to get the tackle of the future. They're in New York, which they badly need. 11, the Vikings go quarterback J.J. McCarthy. A lot of buzz on him. Maybe this is the latest he goes. Like the very latest is 12. I mean, if you really want to push it, 14 of the Saints, but could go a lot earlier. Some people think he could be the third quarterback taken. I'm not fully buying that, but a lot of upside. I think the issue is, does he show enough that has there's elite potential there. He does have a lot of upside. He makes wild plays, don't get me wrong. Growing on me a little bit just because the ability to win, ability to be accurate, make throws in important situations is the key. Ability to escape pressure and throw on the run and knowing when to use his legs, be a pass-first guy. So that's why he's kind of growing on me. And he does have a lot of upside, with more experience. And I think hearing him talk, he kept mentioning Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings. So that obviously and he mentioned other interviews, but that one he talked about a lot. It seemed interesting, so that seems to be a landing spot and a pretty good spot. I think the A+ for the Vikings scenario, if they were to get McCarthy, the A+ scenario. I'm not saying it's an A+ if they get McCarthy. I'm saying if they got McCarthy, what's the A+ scenario? If they happen to already re-sign Kirk Cousins for a year or two and McCarthy learns behind him. But I think this could be a pick with or without Kirk Cousins, but throwing McCarthy in there right away, I don't know if I love that, but pretty good situation, learning from Kevin O'Connell and then the receivers that they have led by Justin Jefferson in the offense line. But I'd watch out for the Vikings for J.J. McCarthy now for sure. And then we got pick 12, Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU. Sean Payton's always looking for receivers. He was looking for receivers in the draft last year in free agency, trying to get guys. They didn't want to trade guys because they want guys at the position, but Cortland Sutton's contract, not going to last forever, obviously. He's great. Had a really good year. Some durability issues throughout his career, especially at the end of last year. And then Judy, good. Hasn't quite lived up to the hype. The trade talks continue. He's a guy that's nearing the end of his contract as well. Sean Payton going to want more receivers. Brian Thomas, 6'3", big body guy, incredible contested catcher, incredible boundary receiver, incredible in the red zone. And for him to run 4.33, that is freaky. LSU is receiver U. This is the range he should go. He could go to the Bears up at 9, in the Broncos, because it's kind of a question who their receiver is the future. Like looking right now, Sutton's good enough to be that guy. Jerry Jeudy still has that upside. He's still good enough to be that guy. But with where their contracts are at, it's still up in who's going to be the receiver of the future. I think Brian Thomas Jr. could be that guy here. So Broncos go that route with the combine standout and an on-field standout as well, Brian Thomas Jr. 13, Terrion Arnold. He's a guy that can go a lot earlier in this. Maybe the Falcons up at 8. It's a possibility. Good character on him. We heard that. I've seen quotes from coaches. They love the way he interviewed. And you hear him talk on TV, and he just sounds like a really good kid and tough and smart kid. So very smooth in his technique, very physical. He can play at a high level outside and inside. So maybe just too good to pass. This is probably the latest he goes. Corners always go earlier than expected too. I remember, looking at, and we knew everyone was high on Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner 2 years ago, but I think leading up to like the day of, like before the day of the draft, I think people had him like in the top 10, but not really like 2 and 3 or up there at the top. And then all of a sudden the day of the draft's like, all right, watch out for those corners. They're going to go a lot earlier. And Arnold is really, really good and really smart, really high character, really good play. So maybe he goes a lot earlier in this, but probably the latest he goes there. Saints go Brock Bowers, just too talented to pass. I mean, based on his talent, he's a top 10 talent, but where do you take tight ends? Who needs a tight end up there with the quarterback, receiver, and tackle talent up there? People may be a little scared because some of the other top tight ends, that went really early, maybe didn't live up to the hype, or I think TJ Hawkinson did, but he's not even with the team that drafted him anymore. So, like, where do you value the tight end? It's kind of the question here. So maybe he could slip a little bit because of that. I could see him going as high as 5. I can see him going to the Titans at 7. Maybe a surprise one that wouldn't really, I guess, wouldn't completely shock me is do the Giants replace Darren Waller with Brock Bowers? I'm not counting on it. I think receiver could be the option, but I wouldn't rule it out at 6 either. So maybe the latest he goes here, but in this scenario, this is what would happen. 15, Quinyon Mitchell, who lit up the Senior Bowl and then lit up the Combine. Good size to him, but freaky athletic, and he's a playmaker for sure. Saw that on tape. I guess the only question is he didn't play the best competition, but he did go against a good competition at the Senior Bowl in one-on-ones, which are extremely hard for corners, and really did well there. So it's a seeming, it almost seems like a lock that Arnold and Mitchell will be the first 2 corners taken, but, it's hard to say guarantee or lock when it comes to the draft. That's why it's so fun. Like, mysterious things happen. It's so exciting, but the Colts definitely could be looking for a corner. And this seems like a good fit here for Gus Bradley's defense at pick 15 and pretty good value. Pick 16, Troy Fautanu, who's one of my guys. I was hyping him up before the Combine, and he really showed out at the Combine. You just hear things from teams like the media's too low on him. The teams are higher on him. So that makes sense to me. It's kind of, so I think he's a top 3 tackle. I think he could be a future Pro Bowl tackle or a future Pro Bowl guard. I would like to keep him at tackle because he was so good there, but he actually might have more upside at guard. I'm going to grade him at tackle, but the Seahawks have decent young tackles. I do think you can get better with Fautanu, add him with Cross, but you could put him at guard, which they can definitely need, and he can be dominant right away, and it just helps either way, it helps the offensive line tremendously. And then you have the bonus that Ryan Grubb, Washington offense coordinator, is now the Seahawks offensive coordinator too. So we'll keep an eye on some of those Washington guys. And actually, when you think of Washington's offense, you think of Michael Penix, you think of the receivers led by Odunze. And Odunze was their best player, their biggest threat. But it all started, where did it start? It starts with the offensive line. That offensive line kept Penix so clean all year, like not even pressured. It was unreal. And that enabled Penix to be able to do this, that, and get the ball to those receivers. So I think the Seahawks will like that. Fatanu's fun. He's fun. One of my favorite players in the draft for sure. I think this is probably the latest he goes, to be honest. Very fun. He's probably one of the more fun offensive line tapes that I've watched. Then we got pick 17, Xavier Worthy, the big standout, the big storyline of the Combine because he broke the record, the 40 record, running a 4.21, just elite speed, unreal speed. He shows it on tape, and it's more than just straight running. Big playability, get the ball downfield or underneath. He can run after the catch. Freshman year, I still think that was actually his best year. So I guess the bad news is he didn't live up to that hype, and maybe his best year was a couple years ago. But the good news is he has it in him. Like, he was once thought of a future elite prospect at the top. So that is in him, even though he hasn't lived up completely to it, but he's had ridiculous production. He's played outside, he's played in the slot. He's sometimes those receivers that are speedy. The problem with them, like the John Rosses, the Jalen Ragers in college, their team put them on one side of the field in one receiver spot, and they ran a go or they ran a screen pass, and that was it, or an end around. And Worthy is more than that. I can promise you he's more than that. Does he have a lot in his arsenal than the other receivers. No, we're not putting him at the top with those other receivers, but he's very solid. Maybe it does seem a little early, but I think Doug Peterson would like him a lot. Christian Kirk, it looks like, is their most important player. When he was out, the difference in their offense without that speed and what he can do, running routes, catching the ball, after the catch ability, the different style plays with him where you can get him the ball on the field. It hurt the Jags without him. And Doug Peterson loves that. Is a receiver first, but he has that gadget along with him. Loves that. Loves the speed. So if you add Xavier Worthy in there, where Kirk plays in the slot a lot, but he can play outside. Worthy plays both quite a bit, but I think more so we see Worthy outside, Kirk in the slot, and you can kind of flip those guys as well. With Ridley as a free agent, Zay Jones won't be around forever. They could cut him. I don't know if I'm counting on it, but he won't be around forever. Doug Peterson will love the speed. It'll help Trevor Lawrence. Something I noticed too. What does the average fan say about Trevor Lawrence this year? Underwhelming. And that's true. He was underwhelming, but I think most people are going to say he was bad. I'd say not so fast on that. The talent is there. There was so many throws that were technically overthrown by this much. He had a lot of drops as well, but this much, and you add that speed and that tracking ability of Xavier Worthy, that much ends up big play. And you saw the big plays happen when you got to the other speedster, Christian Kirk. So I really like this fit. It seems like a guy that Peterson would really like as well. So it makes sense on multiple different levels. He's going to go earlier than you think. Heard that some teams say he could be the fourth receiver taken, which that's a little much. I know he's totally different than Brian Thomas Jr., but Brian Thomas Jr. feels like a firm. Like I put tiers. You have the elite tier with the three guys at the top, and then you put like that great tier. I put Brian Thomas Jr. in that alone. And then that first round, like really solid, could be something tier. Worthy and some other guys probably fall in that category. So Brian Thomas is in that second tier alone to me. Those LSU receivers, man, but apparently the Texas receivers too. Watch out for those guys. 18, Talis Fuaga, who could definitely go earlier in this. He's fun too, explosive. I like that he can hit those next level blocks. He can get downfield. There's a lot of guys in this class that they have really good tape. They're really good offensive linemen. But you watch them when getting out in space, getting downfield, those next level blocks, they whiff a lot, or they get themselves in bad positions where the faster defensive backs are going to blow right by them and they have to dive, or they're like Fuaga puts himself in the right spot and he shows good athleticism out there. So that's actually what stands out to me. He's a little inconsistent, so that's why I like Fatanu a little bit more. That's the good thing though. There's one game I'll watch. I'm like, Fuaga's up there at the top. This might be the best tackle in the class. And there's one game I'm like, this might be a second round pick. So the consistency is one thing, but he's very solid. The Bengals would love him here at right tackle. I plug and play for them. I think they would love that. Couple offensive linemen they can take here. Byron Murphy still on the board. That would be considered defensive tackle from Texas, but this made too much sense here. Great fit. 19, I think I had this my last mock to Latu, lacking the explosiveness, but he has the production, just big play ability. He makes plays, not just getting after the quarterback all over the field. He tested a little better than expected in terms of the 40, but you see the lack of explosiveness in the vertical and the broad jump. Not super lengthy, but lengthy enough. I think he would really fit that Rams defense. Byron Young, pair him with them. So maybe just too talented, too much of a playmaker to pass on here at 19 for the LA Rams. 20, Jackson Powers-Johnson. This made a ton of sense if he's available. I think he can go up at that Seahawks pick. I think some teams could trade that pick early, could trade back and probably target him. But a center that potentially could play guard, I think a safe pick. I am a little hesitant with picking, if you're going to play him at center, how early you pick them, because a lot of the best centers in football, they're drafted in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. They're just plug and play. They end up being really good. So how much do you value it? But he is really good. Or you can wait for a Zach Frazier, who's really good of West Virginia, who's probably going to go in the 2nd round. But I think if Jackson Powers-Johnson is on the board when the Steelers pick, I am fully expecting that to be the pick. Unless, I guess, there's somebody crazy that's totally not supposed to be there, like somebody absurd that's supposed to go top 12. Or if Terrion Arnold's here, maybe they would go him. But if Jackson Powers-Johnson, I think the only one that's realistic, if Quinion Mitchell is here, him versus Jackson Powers-Johnson, I still think they would pick Jackson Powers-Johnson. So that's one I felt pretty good about there at 20. Byron Murphy, I think, should be a top 10 player. I think he has a shot to go at that Bears pick at 9. But and he helped himself at the combine as well. But so many other premium positions, which this should be a premium position, helped themselves so much in receivers, offensive tackles, and teams desperate for those things. Corners are starting to go. Quarterbacks have to go to the top. Those guys soaring up the boards kind of pushed him back a little bit because some teams do have concern about his size, but he's plenty lengthy enough. I guess he's just not. I think his play style, you wish he was 6'2" or 6'3" and 315 pounds, and he's 6 foot tall, 297. I don't really have an issue with that. I would have an issue if his arm length was very much lacking, but he's actually he has very long arms for that size, so, and I love his tape. Like, he is so good. So Dolphins it sounds like they're unable to tag Christian Wilkins, and that is because the cap space situation, where they're at financially, it's not great. So if they tagged Wilkins, they'd be, because with the tag, your cap hit is the price of the tag. There's no backloading anything or shifting it around. It's fully guaranteed. They can't afford to do that. Like, if they tagged him and extended him, that'd be great, but a little risky if they had no choice but to keep him on the tag. So he could go elsewhere, and this could be the replacement. You can use him with Wilkins because Wilkins moves around a bit. Murphy moves around a bit. I just don't know how he goes any lower in this, because this is a fantastic football player, the best interior defensive lineman in this class, and he's a game changer. So this is a little late for, again, this is a predict a pick. If it was me, I'd take him a lot earlier. So this would be an A++ pick for the Miami Dolphins here. 22, Marius Mims, who lit up the combine, a freakish dude with a lot of upside. He looked like a natural, even with limited experience. Eagles are known for taking those Georgia guys. They're known for making sure they get their offensive linemen ready, so there's no in between. There's no hiccup for them. So it'd be a perfect scenario here for having him sit for a year, or maybe two, behind Lane Johnson and kind of taking over for him. Because a lot of upside if in the right program and learning from the right guys. So I think this is kind of his range of the draft now, and it seems like a really good fit and something the Eagles would do at 22. 23, we got the Texans taking Chop Robinson, which I think he could go a lot earlier too. I think he has the potential to go 9 at the Bears. I think a good fit in the 4-3. He has elite NFL get off. He explodes off the ball. He has crazy athleticism as well. He's not super lengthy, and he doesn't have a lot of production. So that is why, some teams might just forget about that production, and just go off the traits, and what he could become, and they take him early. And some teams are like, doesn't have the production, doesn't have the length. There's some teams that just won't take him because he doesn't have the proper length. But I think the Texans would get the most out of him. I think in that D'Amico Ryans defense, opposite of Will Anderson, I think they would get the most out of him. I think a really good fit. Super explosive. I'm a big fan of Chop Robinson as well. I think he should go earlier in this, but I think he's more impactful in the production. The sack stats show. Like, he's actually very productive if you watch. Disruptive for sure. 24, the Cowboys go Alu Fashanu, who I'm definitely lower on than most people. There's some people that have him tackle 1, 2 in that range. I'm definitely lower on him. I definitely think he needs work with his technique, the way he moves around. I think he's going to get beat by the more athletic, which is a lot of them, pass rushers. The way he moves his feet, the footwork, I think could be better. He didn't give up many sacks at all, or it might have been 0 through a certain span. But some of those, those reps, I thought he lost. Like, they could turn into sacks. The quarterback getting the ball out fast there, or just a small ball type play of Penn State, which there was a lot of complaints that they weren't pushing the ball downfield on plays. So I think that kind of helped to his benefit. Did get injured on his 40 at the combine too. I don't know if that plays a major factor, but I think the Cowboys would like him down here. Maybe a future replacement for Tyrone Smith, who could go elsewhere in free agency. And it's a Cowboys type of offensive lineman. They're really good at developing offensive linemen, so it might work out for him if he landed in a spot like this. So this, this would be more like it. This would make a lot more sense here for me for Shanu. 25, the Packers go Nate Wiggins, who did get injured on his 40, but he ran a blazing speed and while getting injured, so he could have actually ran faster. He could have possibly put up a fight with Worthy. I do think Worthy's faster. So I don't think he would have broke the record or anything, even though Wiggins said he thought he could have ran a 4.20. Could have been kind of close, but Packers could use another corner. And based off Wiggins' style of play, I wouldn't put him past to play free safety, but I do like his upside at corner. Playmaking ability there. I think the Packers would take him and his speed at 25. 26, the Bucs take Adonai Mitchell, who lit up the combine. I thought he could actually been a little bit better in the drills, so maybe sometimes he's a little stiff. But guy that's 6'2" and runs a 4.34 and has the production, has that ability, like when the game's on the line, throw me the ball, throw it up for grabs for me. I'm going to go make the play. Love that. Has that ability and runs that 4.3 on top of it. It's a guy that, with that collection of things, like you think he has to go first round. The Bucks actually this morning signed Mike Evans back to a 2-year deal. Definitely think they can use another receiver, and this could be like the future Mike Evans. And right now they would actually use all three of Evans, Mitchell, and Godwin, because they actually could use a next receiver too. And again, Evans is only a 2-year deal. And sometimes, every time somebody signs somebody, it's a 4-year deal. They end up only being there for 3 years, the way they structure it. So could it even be my money would be, I need to see the structure of the contract. My money would be on him being there 2 years though, but that's maximum right now. So getting Mitchell in there, it seems like a guy that can help out with Mike Evans and Godwin right now, and then could be that Evans replacement in 2 years at the same time. So a guy that's definitely on the rise here, AD Mitchell. So for both Texas receivers, end up going in the first round here. 27, Jerzon Newton, who didn't get to work out the combine, but a freaky dude, a really good pass rusher from the defensive line spot. The Cardinals badly need interior defensive linemen. They got no help up there. They can't stop the run. They don't get any interior pressure. I think Jonathan Gannon will like his abilities up front. So could go corner here as well. But they get a big-time receiver and a big-time defensive lineman here in Newton. Marvin Harrison Jr. and then Jerzon Newton here. Also goes by Johnny Newton at pick 27. 28, Cooper DeJean. I like this fit. Just seems like a Bills type of guy. They definitely could use a corner because the corners have been lacking, but mainly because how injured they've been. Tre'Davious White, he just can't stay healthy, unfortunately. I also don't think he's good, but I don't think he's the elite talent that he once was on top of it. And then you have other guys getting injured in the play. They're just not living up to expectations. The Bills love their zone coverage. Cooper DeJean was very sound in zone coverage, very athletic, playmaking ability. I wouldn't put him past him to play. I do think watching him play, he can play corner, or he can play safety, or he can play in the slot. And the Bills would love that. They can use him in multiple different spots. They wouldn't need him in the slot with Taron Johnson there, but they potentially could use him at safety as well. It just seems like their type of guy here with Cooper DeJean, so I did like that fit. Even though we did not get to see him at the combine. 29, the Lions go Braden Fisk, who is a standout at the combine. Super explosive, super athletic, and long as well. Productive at Western Michigan and Florida State. The get off the line, making big plays, in the backfield. The only issue is when offensive lineman is locked in on him, in terms of blocking. He does need to shed that better. And we haven't really seen him in the first round of mocks at all. Maybe the combine, Senior Bowl and the combine will maybe make that possible. I still think people will probably talk about him early second, but it seems like a Lions type guy to me. It seems like a Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn type guy, athletic, long, tough, physical, like his character, like his attitude, explosive. It just seems like, and they could use another guy in there next to Lee McNeil, a lot different than Lee McNeil, which is good, and so he fits right next to him. They could go corner. I would like to think they really focus on corner in free agency or via trade. So they kind of take care of this here at that 29 spot. Just seems like a Lions guy. This probably would surprise some people. But it just seems like a Lions-type pick here at 29. Braden Fisk, the combine standout from Florida State. 30, there's Ladd McConkey, who is a standout at the combine as well. More athletic than expected. Really smooth in the drills, but we know he's a ball player. He can, line anywhere, can catch any ball. Really good after the catch. He's a very smart receiver. He played in Todd Monken's offense at Georgia. Todd Monken's now the offense coordinator with the Ravens. They need another receiver very badly to pair with Zay Flowers, who had a really good rookie year. It makes a lot of sense. The Ravens have more needs than you think, though. I think they can use they definitely need interior offensive linemen, like guards, to start right now. They could use a tackle to start right now, or at least for the future. Offensive line I think they were better than I thought they would be during the year. But when they played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and I'm like, that's more what I thought. Like, actually worse. They got dominated in that game. And it kind of showed the lack of they got good players, but the lack of consistent, like great talent up on the offensive line and the lack of depth because they have some durability concerns. Like during the year, they would like rotate guys. Like, you're going to get away with that in the AFC Championship game? No, you're not. So they could use offensive linemen pretty bad. They could use edge pretty bad as well. But receiver is a good fit here, good player that I think worked his way up to the first round here at 30, Ladd McConkey. 31, Niners go Tyler Guyton, maybe moving down a little bit, was moving up after the Senior Bowl. I mean, he was like one of the stars of the show at the Senior Bowl. Limited experience, but really good in his limited experience, which is impressive. Freakish dude, super long, a lot of upside here. So, but I thought he would test a little bit better at the combine. So this is more of his range. But the Niners could plug him and play him at right tackle, or they could sit him and have him learn behind those guys. Even Trent Williams, who's over at the left side for a bit, and then he can be something special. So the Niners definitely could use some help on the offensive line. And then 32, before we get into the next round, Kool-Aid McKinstry drops a little bit because he wasn't able to work out at the combine. He didn't even know about it. They found a fracture in his foot. He's supposed to be ready to go by his pro day, so it's not major, but it could hurt him a little bit. And a couple other corners being a little bit more athletic, maybe on the rise a little bit more. But the Chiefs, it really feels like they're gonna tag and trade L'Jarius Sneed. They don't like to pay big money to that position unless they can get a good deal. So they'll go and find the next guy up to pair with Trent McDuffie, and they have some other options on the roster, more of the solid rotational pieces. But Kool-Aid McKinstry is very sound in different coverages. Very smart, has experience. I think he'd work well in Spagnuolo's defense, and just really good value here at 32. So possibly that Sneed replacement. And then we see 33, the Panthers, the first pick in the second round, and the rest of the second round, Keon Coleman, who's dropping a little bit, mainly because other receivers are soaring. They're on the rise, so they're going to go in the first round. Pushes him down a little bit. Maybe not. He's athletic, but maybe not quite as athletic as some of the other ones. But big playability, freaky dude. This could be the Mike Evans for Dave Canales' offense with the Carolina Panthers. So pair him with Adam Thielen, two totally different receivers. For Bryce Young, would make a lot of sense. Kingsley Suamataia at 34 for the Patriots. Athletic, long, solid combine. Patriots definitely need a tackle. Kamari Lassiter, I thought he was pretty solid at the combine as well. An athletic and physical corner for the Cardinals. Jordan Morgan, who can play tackle or guard for the Commanders, badly need offensive lineman. Chris Jenkins, the Chargers, badly need interior defensive lineman. You got a Michigan guy there for Jim Harbaugh. Titans take Troy Franklin, who potentially could go late first, but he could be a one-trick pony with the down like straight line, downfield. But he's athletic and he's very good at that trick. Big playability, where the Titans could take him at 38. Bo Nix, could go first round. I thought about him 12, 11, or 12 even. But if he gets by that point or gets by the Saints at 14, he can drop the second round. Some talk about him going first round, but he also could be that guy where people kind of hype up a little bit because they're targeting other quarterbacks. I think we saw that a lot the year where Kenny Pickett was the only guy that went first. Like teams were hyping up Malik Willis, like Sam Howell, Desmond Ritter. These guys are going to go first round. That was kind of the buzz, and they went nowhere near that. So could be like a similar case here at Bo Nix, who I wouldn't use a first-round pick on, but second-round pick for the Giants right here would make a lot of sense. Darius Robinson, who is a little bit of a tweener. What position does he play? Lit up the Senior Bowl, not so much the Combine, but goes pick for you to Dan Quinn's defense in Washington. Javon Bullard, who's probably my favorite safety. I think it's a battle between him and Tyler Nubin. But the Packers grabbed Bullard. He was more athletic than we thought he would test, but I love his tape. He can play split field safety or he can play slot corner. I think it helped the Packers at either of those spots big time, especially what they're trying to do with that defense. It might look like more like a college defense where you're going to use 5 defensive backs a ton and guys that can move around a bit. I think Bullard really fits that. Edgerrin Cooper for the Vikings. It's a athletic blitzing linebacker for Brian Flores' defense. The Falcons grab a receiver in Roman Wilson, that type of technician, quick technician that they can pair with Drake London and Kyle Pitts in Atlanta. Devondre Sweat for the Raiders, big body, nose tackle that the Raiders could definitely use to help stop the run. Michael Penix comes off the board for the Saints, so maybe get that quarterback of the future there. Marshawn Keelan, who is a big body, productive, physical defensive end from Western Michigan, but he doesn't get enough credit for his quickness. He's pretty quick for a big body guy. I think Gus Bradley would like him. and then you kind of they like having a physical guy ready to go. Maybe what they wanted out of Odangbo there. So I do like that pick. And I noticed something when making this mock and watching the combine. There's the top pass rushers, your Dallas Turners, your Latus, your Chop Robinsons, your Verses. And then there's a big drop. There's a big gap. And then there's a couple guys like Keeneland, Darius Robinson, if you have them outside. And there's a bigger gap then. So if you need a pass rusher at this point, it doesn't mean reach for a guy, but you better get your hands on one. Graham Barton for the Giants, so they get he played tackle. But I like that. He's probably going to play guard, but having the ability to play tackle if Evan Neal's struggling or if Andrew Thomas gets injured again, boom, that helps a lot. Tyler Nubin, the Minnesota safety for the Jags, really instinctive free safety. I think would be good for Nielsen's defense. They could use a new safety there. And the first running back comes off the board, Trey Benson, with his size, his production, his ability to catch the ball, being as athletic as he was at the combine. That's huge for his stock. Bengals could move on from Joe Mixon. They may not, but if he'd probably only be around for another year if he did. They do like Chase Brown, but that's it's not a every down back, obviously. I think Zach Taylor would like Benson a lot. Zach Frazier, that future center for the Eagles, unless they're going to put Juergens back at center, or they can keep him at guard. So different scenarios there. And it's Rakestraw Jr., physical corner, does have the durability concerns. Some talk about him in the first round, but could drop because of durability concerns. Max Melton the Rutgers corner was a big winner at the combine. He should find himself going around this range. Steelers can definitely use another corner here, so they take the athletic corner. Christian Haynes, who is a solid guard from UConn that could, it looked really good at Senior Bowl, could go around this range of the draft. The Dolphins have some free agents in the offensive line. They definitely can use another one. Peyton Wilson, is a very athletic linebacker from NC State. Very productive year, but very good at the combine as well. The Eagles could definitely use a linebacker. Browns go Xavier Leggett. Then they have Amari Cooper, who's kind of like your natural do-it-all type receiver. They have Elijah Moore, who's a slot receiver that's a quick separator, really all over the field. They have Cedric Tillman, who's a big body outside receiver. What they don't have is kind of like which Stefanski really likes to have is kind of your utility guy that's really good after the catch. And Leggett is that guy, but more than that as well. He tested very well at the combine, so it's a guy that I think Stefanski would like to get his hands on. Another running back, Jonathan Brooks, who I think is the best natural runner of this class. Problem is he tore his ACL in November, so where is his health at? But he's very young and he's super athletic, and he's good. He's really good, but most talented running back in his class. So the Cowboys take him, keep him in Texas there. Another running back, Jalen Wright, freak athlete, home run hitting running back. I think the Packers would love to pair with Aaron Jones, maybe that be that future Aaron Jones. The Packers will value the running back position quite a bit there. Jadavion Sanders, who's probably the second best tight end, kind of like a big receiver that you can play at tight end, obviously, for the Bucs. So really getting those weapons together. Another Texas guy for Tampa. Mike Sainristil from Michigan, who I think has a good opportunity to be a big-time slot corner. Can also play outside for the Texans there. Ricky Pearsall, who really good year for Florida, lit up the Senior Bowl, lit up the Combine, very athletic. I think it seems like a Bills pick here down at 60. Another receiver, Jalen Polk, physical contested catcher, tested very well. Seems to be pretty sound against zone coverage, which I love. Lions, I like him for the Lions. I think they would like him as well on the outside to pair with St. Brown. Chris Braswell, Alabama pass rusher for the Ravens. They need a pass rusher. Seem to pick Alabama guys. Pretty athletic guy here. Renardo Green, Florida State corner for the 49ers. Definitely could use another corner. Really good year for them. And then Malachi Corley, who's a monster after the catch. Very athletic, freaky dude, very tough. Runs after the catch like a running back. The Chiefs looking for a receiver at 64 makes some sense. So there's your second round. There's your full 2 rounds after the Combine. Kind of at that point where we know where guys are, what range they're going to go. It's not as much of a mystery anymore. We know what guys are all about. We know we've heard a lot from teams on their thoughts and who they hire on or lower on in the media. So this felt really good. A lot of good fits here. This felt really good. Favorite mock so far. Let me know your guys' thoughts. We'll have you guys cover what more mock draft, more NFL coverage, NFL draft coverage, but NFL coverage in general. Free agency videos on the channel. More to come with my final predictions for free agency, and then we'll have grades coming out nonstop throughout free agency as the signings go. But the first thoughts in the news will be on our Twitter at GoatHouseNFL. Links pinned in the comments, so check that out. Check out our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV, code GOAT. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.